This is the SuperSport Schools podcast, bringing you stories of our future stars, powered by Spur Steak Ranchers.
1, 2, 3, go!
Hello and welcome to another episode of the SuperSport Schools podcast brought to you by Spur. Tim and I are back together. We're at Rondebosch. Tim, how are you feeling this week?
You know what? I'm always happy to be here with you guys. From the quiz from last week, I'm hoping you showed kindness while setting this one.
So I've set a nice quiz, I think. That's what I'm going to say. It's a nice quiz. But before we get to that, on today's show, we're talking about mentorship. We have two gentlemen joining us from Ikigai Mentorship to talk all about how they focus on mentoring student athletes. So I wanted to ask you, we obviously went to school at the same time as some sort of student athletes, some guys who've gone on to play professionally. Anybody that you sort of have maybe a favorite student athlete, someone whose journey you thought, that's quite cool?
Again, we've met so many people because of this podcast. So a lot of good stories. Still a personal one that rings close to my heart. Gino Cupido. Just again, Strand isn't where you expect to find rugby talent. It's not a sort of school that's popping out high-end rugby talent every other week. It's not your Paul Boys. It's not Grey College. But to see a player of that much talent and that clearly put in that much work, I mean, seeing what he's done is just inspirational. How about you?
For me, and I know this is difficult as a Rondebosch boy to say, Suleiman Hotzenberg. But there's a couple of reasons here that I didn't actually know until a couple of weeks ago, where we interviewed Chris Ekron from Playbook Ed on the show. I interviewed him, and we were at a little bit of a function, and they had a whole lot of speakers, and one of them was Suleiman, that he's a student at UCT. I did not know that. Yeah, I didn't know that he was a student athlete like that while playing for the Stormers, student at UCT. And after the sort of chat, he came up to me and said, "Hi, Alex," which was also a very weird moment, just because he does watch my law videos. So that was a weird moment as well.
We all do.
So, and he said it helped, so that's good. I'm taking that. So I can claim that I have coached a Stormer. So just very, very sort of... It's not the closest connection to actually be able to claim it, but I'm claiming that I've coached the Stormer. So that's why Suleiman Hotzenberg, and obviously his journey's been amazing, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. Obviously with these student athletes, there's a lot more pressures, and that's what our interview focuses on today with the gents from Ikigai. Zux, Greg, thanks so much for joining us on the SuperSport Schools podcast, joining us from Ikigai Mentorship. I think just to start off, if you could briefly introduce each of yourselves so we can find out more about you, and then we'll get into Ikigai.
Yeah, awesome. It's really great to be here. And so I'm Zux. I'm a co-founder along with Greg of Ikigai. I'm also a avid sports supporter, coach, and educator, and I'm sure we'll get into it a bit more.
Then I'm Greg. I don't have as long a CV as Zux over here, but also co-founder of Ikigai. Sort of just finished studying recently, and I would like to make a lasting impact on South African sports in general, and looking forward to getting into it.
Cool. So Ikigai mentorship, it's all about mentorship. It's about fostering student athletes. I think to start off, tell us about how it came about, where the idea came from, and why Ikigai started.
Awesome. So it's kind of, for me, like a long journey. I went to school at KES in Johannesburg, and, from there, always loved sports and academics, which led me to study at the University of Cape Town, where again I played rugby and I studied. And then after that, I went to Japan for 4 years, and this is kind of where the journey really kicked off, and the name Ikigai comes from. And while I was in Japan, I was teaching English, I was playing rugby, and I was strength and conditioning coach for the Japanese women's team. And then I kind of realized that I had this great experience, and, from KES to Cape Town, to Japan, and I was kind of thinking to myself, what did I have that allowed for me to succeed, and not so much succeed in terms of results, but get to my goal and who was there. And I realized that I had all those people around me to support me, and to give me kind of the framework. And when I was in a bit of a limbo and rugby decisions or academic, that I had someone to help me. And so I came back to South Africa, and I thought, I was going to use my everything I'd learned to mentor, and that's how the idea came. And I think we have a great sporting culture in South Africa and education. And my original idea was that from matric, when you finish to university, it's kind of a big transition, and one can get quite lost, and a lot of decisions to be made, and you're kind of like into a new world where you have to make lots of decisions, and you're kind of independent. And so I thought I'd help young people, student athletes, to kind of make the decisions and to guide them, and I'd be the person they come to ask. And I think the one more thing I'll say is, in the South African context, who is a student athlete? It's everyone, because we all at schools, we play a sport and we study. So I think, and also as a teacher, as a coach, that's what you do. You try and impart your knowledge and skills so that the players or the boys, the girls, can be their best, and not so much about me, but how I can help them. And so that's how it all came about. And Ikigai and my reason for being is to help and educate the next generation.
So in Ikigai, what does this mentorship look like? What are the goals? What are you guys out to do?
So I think it's also more it's a holistic development. So it's not specifically just endemic to sport or anything like that. I mean, sport is obviously quite a big thing in South Africa in general, and it underpins a lot of what we'd like to be doing. But there's a lot that happens outside the sports field as well. When you're transitioning from sort of grades 9 up until first year, there's a lot of things that are happening. There's a lot of social aspects that are going on as well. And from there, it's also the transition to how to manage all of those additional pressures that come outside of sport as well, because it's not just sporting pressures, there's academic pressures, there's social pressures, and that can sometimes be the make or break between what actually can sort of set people apart in terms of being a successful sportsman or woman, or letting things maybe fall to the wayside. You might, inverted commas, get a bit distracted. And that's how we'd like to sort of structure the mentorship program. So to be able to support anyone who's going through that sort of transition, not just like Zook said, from a matric year, but even starting earlier on before varsity, trying to sort of help them to develop into the best person that they can possibly be, to also then create a lasting impact on their community. So it's not just for them being able to walk that path, and then once you've walked that path, you can then turn back, see the steps you took, and offer that guidance to people that are walking that same path behind you at the same time. So it's not something where, I think mentorship has this idea where it has to be someone that's won 3 World Cups, and it has to be someone that's done this massive professional sort of sporting career, but it's not always the case. Like take me, for instance. Somehow I also still find myself sometimes not knowing what I'd like to do, but just speaking to someone sort of niches down where I'd like to go, or doing various experiences allows me to find out where I'd like to go. That's what we'd like to build with this mentorship program, allowing people to sort of, through iterations, through conversations, niche down where they'd like to do and how they'd like to get there in a way that allows them to still experience the most that they can, if that all makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. I think maybe just to flesh it out a bit, what are some of the biggest challenges that student athletes are facing that the mentorship directly helps with?
So we'll just take a step back. So before anyone, we mentor anyone, they fill out a bit of a form, and we find out, who they are, their age, what they'd like to achieve, and also how they set their goals, and what aspect and what they would look for in a mentor. Because I think that's very important, because if the mentee doesn't believe in the mentor, or the mentor doesn't have the skill set to be able to, give them knowledge or guidance, then it doesn't really work. So some of the biggest challenges are, confidence. They feel lots of pressure, or when they fail, they don't know where they're going wrong. And I think also in terms of academically and sports is, how do I balance the two? And it's giving them the skills to be able to, for example, you probably won't have it perfect all the time, but it's to try and to balance academics, the sports, and also your social life. So we give them the tools to be able to, and it all starts with, goal setting, where you want to go, and then you work backwards from there. And also the mentors also are in their own journey of, they have a goal that they've set. So they also have to role model the behavior, because it's very important that the mentees can see, and that when the mentor speaks, it's from experience, and that they actually know what it's like to be challenged. And so that's some of the ways that we implement it. And we have a one-on-one session once a month or twice a month. The mentee can choose that we're able to talk about first, like, with them, get to know them, then also where they're finding challenges, and also just to share our own journeys to where we are, because ultimately I think we're all mirrors of each other in one way. We're all working on a journey, and to be able to empathize, for them to actually understand that we really do understand where you're coming from, and this is what happened to me, and maybe you can take something from that story and implement it. So this is some of the ways that we do it. Yeah,
That's really powerful and important. Just having somebody to give you guidance, it's therapeutic in a way. It's the only thing that I can latch onto. Is it's almost like a therapy that you're offering to these students, that they have somebody that they can open up about their lives, whether in the sports aspect, but also school, social, what it means like to grow up as the person you are in your context from other people that have experienced similar. And so when it comes to the mentors, who are they? What makes a great mentor?
What makes a great mentor? I mean, there's quite a few things that I think. So I've personally, with founding this and, traveling from Cairns to Cape Town, it seems like it's close, but, moving away from home after school is really difficult at any age, and then taking that and then moving into a different country as well. And so I found mentors who were, for me, were aspirational, motivational, but also they had the experience. So what makes a good mentor, and my role as a teacher, is that you are empathetic, you're kind, and that you are able to provide that insight that they actually need, and that you put in the person first. So I like to say the whole person, the whole point, and that their success isn't the ultimate goal. It's about them developing. It's yesterday you did this, today you have a bit of understanding, and that's the point, that they understand that it's a step process. So I think that's what makes a good mentor, is that they're able to understand the person.
I think also, just to build on what Zux is saying, in terms of a good mentor, I think it's also someone that's also opened themselves up culturally to different experiences. So someone that has been lucky enough to get out of South Africa to a more inverted commas alternative location. A lot of South Africans love going to Europe for holidays or things like that, but going more to the east side of things. So like Zux having gone to Japan, there's a lot of things that he would have learned there that never really would have happened had he stayed here in South Africa. So I think at the same time, going through those experiences and then being able to learn from those and then being able to apply those in a mentoring aspect also really makes a great mentor. So someone that's opened themselves up to experience in a cultural aspect as well, I think also really adds to a good mentor.
I think we'll give you guys the opportunity to name drop a little bit some of the mentors that you do have on board, some of the people involved with Ikigai.
So some of the mentors that we have are, Wandile Mjekevu, who's an ex-professional rugby player. He was actually my head boy at Cairns. We have Julia Vincent, who's a 3-time Olympic diver, and she lives in the United States. We have Zane Weir as well, who's an Olympic shot put thrower, and then we also have Ntokozo Makaza, who's probably one of the most recent.
And that's someone who's gone through the whole process of being a student athlete, like right now and right recently, that we've all seen, and with huge success as well. So that's very cool.
Yeah. So he's obviously the student athlete who goes to university, through school, plays in all the tournaments, and then gets a professional opportunity. And some of the advisors we have, is one of them, which I look up to, is Flip van der Merwe. He's school at Grey College. He went to the University of Bloemfontein, played for Shimlers, played for the Cheetahs, played for the Boks. He went overseas. He played in France, and then he also went to top universities in the UK, and now he's actually working. So he's also going through his own transition, and so we also have that peer-to-peer mentoring where we're also developing as time goes. So there's a few of the people we have. And I think with the mentees, we have mentees from 12 years old, because there's a lot of pressure even at primary schools, and it's all around the country, and they're also looking to get better. And I think, we all want to feel purposeful, we want to achieve our goal and look for people that can help us. So those are some of the people we have.
I also want to talk then about some of those mentees. The Baby Box have returned from the Under-20 World Championships as victors, as the champions of the world. And Wandile Mlaba, the number 8, I believe he's part of your program. So that must be a very proud moment for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Very proud, I think, to walk the journey with him. Staying in a hotel for 4 weeks, coming back, having to write your exams, tests, and then also going off for another 4 weeks. And, it's very different from every day in one place. And so for me, with Wandile, the character he shows, the humility that he shows, and the willingness to learn. I sent him a message. I said, well done, and looking forward to catching up. He says, I can't wait. They also, I think, he's quite young men, and they're growing as well. And they also want to, be able to, chat with people, but also give back at the same time. So they learn and teach, because they, you may think that you win a world championship or start a company, you know everything, but it's not entirely true. Everyone is learning all the time. So I'm very proud of him. And, for me, he actually made it. I just happened to be working the journey with him.
How long was that journey that you guys walked together?
So it's about a year and a bit. And obviously he was injured in December. He went across to the camp. And, you kind of feel doubtful that the writing's on the wall, but to persevere. And I think that's where the character really is important in the mentorship program. Young people develop the character to continue to try. And it's not about success or failure, but it's about development. And here he is. He achieved his goal, and now he's back in Cape Town. He's going to have to start studying again, and he's going to have to balance that. So it's always one to another. And I think one thing I wanted to mention is I've been fortunate enough to my universities. I had Ben, Jason, Dixon, Fundun Lovu, who at the time were finishing their schooling, or they also provided me with insight. And I spent a bit of time in Japan, and JC Krill, he dropped me at the train station, and he provided me with insight into what it's like to be a professional and the pressure. And I stayed with Malcolm Marks as well. Sorry, name drop, but they trained on the 1st of January, 7:30 to 4. And you can understand it's really hard, but if you have a goal, some of the things you have to do. So they've provided me insight into what they go through to be able to pass on as well.
So, okay, I had maybe it's a bit greedy of me to ask, but let's say I'm a trick student, play first team at my school, maybe I played a bit of Craven Week, wasn't on the starting lineup every week, but this is me, and I don't really know where my journey after school goes. For that kid or any other scenario, what's the kinds of advice, whether it's direction of where to go or mental attitudes that you need? What advice would you give to that student?
Sure. I would say first things first would be to create a good, consistent routine, just to be able to build yourself a bit of a base to be able to then sort of excel from there, because things will change. You've played matric rugby, you're entering into the varsity scene, you might be trying to get into varsity cup. I think you need to stay hungry, stay determined, but also just be able to ground yourself every now and then. And I think that's also where the mentoring side of things comes into it, because there is often a lot of inconsistencies that's happening. Like Sux was saying, you're traveling 4 weeks on the trot. That's what the mentoring thing or side of things brings into it. It brings into that consistency, that sort of safe space where you can feel free to express your feelings and to chat to someone who will then be able to help you through possible tough times. So I think that's certainly one thing that you need to have, that sort of can-do attitude and want to keep on going with the consistency side of things. And at the same time, I think don't think that you need to be defined by your sport, because that can often lead to detrimental consequences later on down the line. That's where a lot of self-confidence issues start to come in. When you don't start to get picked, you start to then question whether you are actually worth it because you've defined yourself specifically to that. So try to have that sort of healthy balance between knowing when to turn on and be in that sort of mode, but at the same time, knowing when to switch off, knowing when to take a step back and just sort of be grateful for what's happening and see things for as they are. So those are a couple of things from my side. So I don't know if you've got anything else to add.
Yeah, I think as well, just added that. And practically, it's, you don't know where to go. First of all, what do you want to do? And I'm sure they'll say hockey, diving, or rugby. But academically, let's see where you stand. And, post Craven Week, it's exam time. So, we've got to sit down and say, if you want to go to Stellenbosch, Tux, UCT, let's see where your marks are. Let's put down where you want to study, and have we made the application process? Do we meet that criteria? And then if our marks are not there, then also, what do we need to put in place? Tutor, get your study timetable ready. And I think that's a good starting point, is to see where you want to go. And then, of course, if you have any options and offers, and where's the, trying to help them, like, where do you feel would be most successful? And the support system is quite important as well. To understand, okay, if I go there, this is what it would look like, and this would be. So we provide them also what it's like in the next phase. You'll pack your bags at home, your suitcase, you say bye to family, and then it's exciting. And then when I came to UCT in February, I was going to Cavendish to go and buy my duvet and pillow alone. My mom sent me like a list. You buy this, and that, and then that's where it starts. And then also, I think Greg mentioned, not just being a sports person, saying I'm just sports, but academically and socially as well, is, are you spending time with your friends? Do you find the time with your family? Or are you very rude to everyone because you're the first team rugby player? Remember, this is just for now, but your character and how you treat other people is quite important. So, and those are the people that are going to help you beyond this stage. So I think practically some of the things that I chat to the boys and girls about, just build the character and practically do these steps. But just remember, you can go do this, or go ask for help from your teacher, your lecturer. Go ask your coach questions about how you can improve. So very practical things that you can do. It's not just me against them, but put yourself out there, ask the questions so you can learn.
Awesome. I think the last thing I want to ask you guys is where people can find out more information about Ikigai, if they're interested.
Sure. They can find out Ikigai at www.ikigaisports.co.za and on Instagram at Ikigai Mentorship. And that's where they can find us.
Great, guys. Thanks so much for joining us on the show and chatting about Ikigai. I've enjoyed hearing about it, so thanks so much.
Awesome.
Thanks very much,
Thanks.
Alex. Thanks, Tim.
We're going to take a quick break now on the SuperSport Schools podcast. When we come back, it's Tim and me head-to-head with the quiz.
Bringing you the sport you care about the most, this is the SuperSport Schools podcast.
Are you ready?
Yes, Dad.
Happy birthday. Jeez.
Hold me again. And I'm holding on to memories still to come. I'm holding on.
It's more than a meal.
You ready, Nana?
It's living with a taste for life.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for believing in each other.
Thank you for putting all your hard work. Thank you for never giving up.
Thank you for bringing the game to more people. Thank you.
Bringing you the sport you care about the most, this is the SuperSport Schools podcast.
Welcome back to the SuperSport Schools podcast, brought to you by Spur. Last time we were together, Tim, you set a quiz for me. I got 5 right. So I've gone to the drawing board. I've labored over this. I've written my questions out. How are you feeling going against another quiz? Because I don't think anyone's done more SuperSport Schools podcast quizzes than you.
Yeah, you'd think it would prepare me for moments like these, but I'm terrified every single time. Because again, I've made sport kind of my personality. All my friends, I'm the sport guy. Oh, I think I am. And then these quizzes show me that I'm not, because I clearly don't know everything. So it's a terrifying.
The problem with
premise.
school sport is there's just so much, so it's just so hard to know. But
Yeah.
did you watch the FNB Under 18 Craven Week?
Yes.
You did?
Bits and bobs.
Okay.
I mean, it is my tradition to set that week aside, and I'd at least watch some rugby.
Yes.
In high school, I was a lot better at it.
Now you're studying.
Now I'm studying, so it's not because before it was I would wake up 10 a.m.
It would be in
and
the
I'd
holiday.
watch until 4.
Yeah, it would be in the holiday as well. But now with university, you don't always have the holiday overlapping. Okay, well, we'll see how that bodes for you in the quiz. Timothy Mutama,
Yes, sir.
are you ready to take on the SuperSport Schools podcast quiz?
Have I ever answered yes to this question?
No.
There's your answer.
Okay, right. 60 seconds on the clock. Your time starts now. How many FNB Under 18 Craven Week matches have Western Province won in a row?
6.
It's 18. Which stadium will host the World Cup final this year in England?
Twickenham?
Correct. Which South African school was crowned Under 17 World Schools Netball Champions this year?
Waterkloof.
It's Red Hill. Which team won this year's SA20?
Oh, my Cape Town.
Correct. In tennis, what is the point called that a player wins after deuce?
Ace?
Advantage. What color balls are usually used in squash?
Black.
Correct. True or false? Steeplechase is competed at the Olympics?
True.
That's correct. Which team came third at the 2023 Rugby World Cup?
England.
Correct. Who are current Sevens World Champions for men?
South Africa.
Correct. Who received a 10-second time penalty at the 2025 British Grand Prix?
Max Verstappen.
Oscar
Wait.
Piastri.
Oh, I went 1 week back. Oh, that is painful.
I think you did quite well. Let's see.
That is painful.
You got 7.
Yeah, but I got the one that I was meant to get right wrong.
See, you asked me to be nice. I was nice. You got 2 more than I got.
You know, the thing is, I can tell you why he got the penalty. I can tell you the exact reason why.
But you just forgot it was him.
I flash back to what was it, Barcelona, when
Yeah.
Max got the penalty for knocking into George. And so that's where my brain was. I'm also a hurt Red Bull fan, so I think everything is against us. So I went...
So you immediately thought it must have been Max if it was a penalty.
Yeah, but I forgot that was actually the race that we got wrong. Because, Oscar, you can't pull your car to a standstill at a restart.
It affected Max.
Well, yes.
And then
'cause
his mind was a bit, I don't know, so he almost drove off the track a few seconds later. But there we go.
But you know what? I'm fine missing the answer on that, because that wasn't the main part of that Grand Prix. The main part was watching Nico Hulkenberg get his first podium. That brought a tear to my eye.
That was quite special. But I'm also glad you got most of the school's questions right. Red Hill, the under-17 netball champs.
Honestly, I just threw. It's Waterkloof that didn't even have a.
I'm sure.
Co-ed?
I'm
pretty
sure
it's
they.
co-ed. I think it's co-ed.
You're just throwing names up. But yeah, cool. Well done. 7. That's a good score, as we know on the podcast. 'cause-
Wait, does that mean I beat you?
Yes, you did. So, but we're not keeping score. It's just
No,
for fun.
no,
It's just for fun.
no.
It's
We
just
are
for
beating.
fun.
We are keeping score.
We'll have
Have you
another quiz.
beaten me?
Ever?
That's crazy.
Ever. Well, we'd have to get somebody else to set the questions to see, because we could just argue I'm nicer.
Or we
So-
could just argue that I'm better. But do the outro, please.
Okay, that's all we have time for on today's episode of the SuperSport Schools podcast, brought to you by Spur. New episodes every Sunday at 6 on SuperSport Schools channel 216. We'll see you next week, but for now, bye-bye.
This has been the SuperSport Schools podcast, bringing you stories of our future stars, powered by Spur Steak Ranchers.